In this segment, we're going to briefly look at an alternative response to the puzzle that Judith Jarvis Thomson lays out. Remember, Parfit develops his theory according to which survival does not require identity, according to which I am not the same individual, literally identical with the individual who started the semester, um, and neither you're not the same individual who started this semester in your seat or however you think of yourself. Um, he develops his mind theory in response to a puzzle that Thomson raises. Well, today we're going to look briefly at, or in this segment, we're going to look briefly at David Lewis's response to the same puzzle. Now, David Lewis's response will preserve the claim that survival requires identity. And his response begins by thinking about a relationship between time and space. So he says, time is easily represented spatially. Here's an example of representing time spatially. You have someone born in 1963, cut from their varsity team as a 10th grader in 1978, becoming NBA Rookie of the Year in 1985, winning a first NBA title in 1991, retiring for the first time in 1993, coming back to the NBA in 1995, being dubbed Airball Jordan briefly after missing shots, and then drafting Kwame Brown in 2001 as an executive for the Washington Wizards. Here's another example of time being represented spatially. The point here is just this. These are spatial representations of time, and they're pretty intuitive. It's not like when we represent time spatially, or when someone tries to, it takes a genius to figure out what's going on. A timeline is a very familiar way to represent the progression of time spatially. Now, temporal parts theory, this is the theory that is going to allow a different response to Thomson's puzzle, holds that time is like space in a deep and important way. It has parts. Just as there's the left side of my body and the right side of my body, there's different parts to space, or different parts to time. So you have the spatial parts here, the head, the right leg, the left leg, right arm and neck, and so on. Similarly, you can have temporal parts. So just like I right now at this moment have spatial parts, I, across my history, have temporal parts. There was me at one time, me at the next time, and me at the next time. Those are sort of temporal parts of me. Okay. You might also call them time slices. So a whole person consists of this entire thing. Okay? Just as a whole body, there's a whole body present at time 0, a whole body present at time 1, and a whole body present at time 2. A whole person requires taking all these temporal parts, all these time slices, and holding them together. To put it another way, if you want to draw a line around a whole body, you can do that at any particular moment in time. You can do that at time 2, you can do that at time 1, you can do that at time 0. But if you want to draw a line around a whole person, you can't do that at a particular moment in time because people, the idea goes, are spread out temporally. I am not just this thing talking right now. That's a time slice of me, a temporal part of me that's talking right now. I am the sum or the conjunction of all of my temporal parts. So to draw a line around all of me, you would have to draw a line that stretches back in time and stretches forward in time from the day I'm born until the day I die. Okay, with this idea in mind, this view is sometimes called four-dimensionalism because it holds that there's a temporal dimension to people, just like there's 3 spatial dimensions, there's a 4th dimension, which is a temporal dimension. It's sometimes also called perdurantism. Endurantism, En, endurantism, is the view that a person is wholly present at each time at which they're located. So if you want to draw a circle around the entire person, you just draw a circle around what's at 0. To put it another way, drawing a circle around a whole body at a time is drawing a circle around a whole person because people aren't temporally extended. The person at time 0 is entirely present, the person at time 1 is entirely present, and so on. According to four-dimensionalism or perdurantism, people aren't wholly present at a single time. It's rather the sum of their temporal parts that constitutes the person. Okay, so with this in mind, let's look at Thomson's puzzle again. She says, look, Brown is identical with, according to mind theory, brown is identical with purple, and according to mind theory, brown is identical with red. After all, purple has the same mental features as brown, and red has the same mental features as brown. This raises the problem because it implies that purple and red are identical, but of course they're not identical because they occupy distinct spatial locations. So the idea goes, mind theory got us into this trouble, so mind theory must be false. Remember, Parfit says, it's not mind theory that got us into this trouble, it's the presumption, the assumption that survival requires identity. So Parfit rejects that and would get rid of all of these identity signs, saying none of them are identical with one another. It's instead the case that purple is the survivor of brown without being identical with brown, and red is the survivor of brown without being identical with brown. Now, David Lewis thinks, well, there's good reason to want to talk about identity, good reason to want to talk about purple and brown being the same person. It's relevant for moral responsibility, he thinks, things like paying debts and so on and so forth, and he thinks it's intuitive. So the question becomes, is there a way we can say that survival requires identity and still get out of Thompson's puzzle?